Mr. Daniel Whitmore adjusted his glasses as he stepped off the rickety bus, the cold autumn wind biting at his face. The village of Black Hollow lay ahead, shrouded in mist, its crooked houses leaning like silent watchers. It was nothing like the busy city life he had left behind. His new job at Black Hollow Academy was supposed to be a fresh start, a quiet place to teach, away from the chaos of urban life. But as he walked toward the iron gates of the school, a strange feeling settled in his chest. The air was thick, the sky unusually dim for late afternoon. The headmistress had warned him, the children can be different, but don't let their stories get to you. He'd laughed it off then, but now, standing before the ivy-covered building, he wasn't so sure. For years, everything was normal, almost too normal. Mr. Whitmore became a fixture of Black Hollow Academy. He taught generations of students, watched them graduate, and welcomed new faces every year. The town, quiet and isolated, had slowly become his home. He'd stopped noticing the odd way the fog never seemed to lift, or how the villagers always whispered when they thought he wasn't listening. The students were polite, respectful, and unnervingly bright. But that was a good thing, wasn't it? They listened, they obeyed, they learned quickly. Seasons passed, years went by, and nothing ever went wrong. Until his 10th year. That was when he started to notice. At first, it was just little things he could brush off. A student he swore had graduated years ago, sitting in the back row, staring at him with an unsettling gaze. A roll call with names he didn't recognize. A lesson written in his own handwriting that he had no memory of preparing. Small things, strange things. And then, one autumn morning, something changed. It started with a photograph. Mr. Whitmore was sorting through old class pictures in the headmistress's office when he noticed something odd. In every photo from the past 10 years, the same children appeared, the same faces, the same expressions. They never aged. His heart pounded as he flipped through the photos, his fingers trembling. "That's not possible," he whispered. A chill crawled down his spine. He rushed to his classroom, his mind racing. He scanned the rows of students. They were all staring at him, their eyes following him in unison, silent, expectant. That was when a chilling thought struck him. Had he been teaching the same class for 10 years? The idea was absurd, and yet, as he looked at their familiar faces, a cold dread settled in his chest. And then, one night, Mr. Whitmore woke up to the sound of knocking. Not at his door, at his window. His cottage was on the 2nd floor. He sat up in bed, his breath visible in the freezing air. The knocking came again, slow, deliberate. His heart raced as he turned to the window. A child stood there, pressed against the glass, pale, motionless, staring. It was one of his students, but something was horribly wrong. Their lips moved, whispering something he couldn't hear, and then, as he reached for the lamp, they vanished. It was a crisp autumn morning when Mr. Whitmore arrived at school as usual, stepping through the wrought iron gates of Black Hollow Academy. The leaves crunched beneath his feet, and the air carried the familiar scent of damp earth and burning wood. But something felt off. The students greeted him politely, their voices calm, their eyes too bright. The lessons went on as usual, but a creeping unease filled him. Something just beyond his understanding gnawed at his thoughts. At lunch, he overheard 2 students whispering in the hallway. "Does he know?" one asked. "Not yet," the other replied. Mr. Whitmore froze. He turned the corner, expecting them to flinch, to act surprised, but they didn't. They just smiled. Perfect, polite smiles. "Is something wrong, sir?" one of them asked. He hesitated. Their faces, their voices, their eyes. Something was terribly, terribly wrong. That was the moment a disturbing thought crept into his mind. Had anything in Black Hollow ever changed? The students, the teachers, the town, even himself. The idea made his skin crawl. It couldn't be true, could it? For 10 years, Mr. Daniel Whitmore lived a simple, structured life at Black Hollow Academy. The school was quiet, the students well-mannered, and the village peaceful in its old-fashioned ways. At first, he found the isolation strange, but over time, it became comforting. He woke at dawn, taught his lessons, dined with his fellow teachers, and retired early. Every day felt the same. And that was fine, until the day he noticed the mistake. It was a simple thing. A student, Arthur Hale, turned in an essay with the date October 3rd, 1896. "Arthur," Mr. Whitmore chuckled, "you've written the wrong year." The boy blinked at him. "No, sir, that's the correct year." A quiet tension filled the room. The other students sat still, their eyes locked on him, their faces unreadable. A chill crawled up Mr. Whitmore's spine. He turned to the window. The trees outside were caught in an eternal autumn, their leaves forever stuck in mid-fall. The sky was the same pale grey it had always been. He had lived here for 10 years, and nothing had ever changed. Not the school, not the students, not even him. His breath caught in his throat. His reflection in the glass stared back, unchanged. The same face, the same age. His hands trembled as the whisper of a child's voice echoed behind him. "Sir, are you finally noticing?"